We've got something that's plaguing Top Fuel and Top Fuel Funny Car here lately, and it's not a good thing. Austin Proc's car was going down Q1 on Friday and experienced a rear end failure. If you look behind the car, you see these pieces that are actually floating on the asphalt. Matter of fact, some of these pieces are starting to catch back up with the car. Now, we have things in place right now. If you have a particular brand of rear end, that you're going to wrap this rear end with it's a Kevlar diaper in case there is a containment issue. Now, on the funny cars, I think they're limited of what they can do as far as how much of a wrap they can put on and things like that, but they have put on a billet cover. Talking to Jimmy Proc, it opened the billet cover up, and then it spit out some of the rear end parts right out the bottom. And you can see here in this detail, that is a chunk of ring gear that's actually fallen in the car. Now, in the past, we've got 50, 60 runs on these rear ends, but now, with maybe the power that we're producing, or maybe we're having some issues, this one only had 16 or 17. Today, we're off to EDDY Inspections, and you guys have seen all the problems that we've had with rear end gears and things like that on these Top Fuel cars. So we're going to take this down and we're going to get a ring gear that we've got, I think, approximately 30 runs on, that we noticed some things on just visually, but I really want to get this thing inspected and find out just exactly how bad this thing is. And we're going to get that done by EDDY Current Inspection. And anyway, so hang on. This is the home of EDDY Inspections. Dwayne has been here for years. He owns a company, and he's also an aircraft certified mechanic. It's like coming into a cave of some type, but you need dark area to find these cracks and use this type of magnetic crack detection.
Years old. I don't want to do this.
Really? Oh,
not
shit.
Much anymore.
Shit.
Damn sure don't.
Well, I'm gonna film you doing some stuff. Is that all right?
Huh?
Is it okay if I film you and stuff?
No, not at all.
Okay, cool.
I'm hoping the air compressor is going to kick on.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. So it's magnetizing it? Is that how it's...
Yeah, the first one will be a head shock.
Yep.
So that's going to show cracks, and because the current's flowing this way,
yep.
So it'll show cracks this way and 45 off. And then when I do a coil shot after the head shock,
yep.
Then the current's flowing this way, so it'll show cracks this way and 45 off.
Oh, wow.
So you'll get both, but
gotcha.
You have to do both sides.
I see.
Man, that's a hossy ring.
It is, ain't it?
Bigger bar here. Yeah, your guys' stuff, crankshafts and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you guys have taken away some time of my life from doing all your heavy parts.
How's the shoulders?
Yeah.
That's what got me first, was shoulders.
Oh, was it?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I gotta say, I'm waiting for the day you do crankshafts out of composites and stuff would be nice. Now that bar,
yep.
I'll get a field 4 times the diameter of that bar.
I
but
see.
That's why I'm still moving it around.
I see.
Right at the end of my
Oh my God. Right there?
Yep. Oh, look at these. Look at that. That's cracked all down in the bottom, the ends of those. That tooth right there. Yeah, this is cracked all. See all down in the valleys in there? And on the side of that tooth right there.
God, look at that thing.
Yeah. Ooh, there's another big one. Halfway up the...
Oh my God, look at that.
Oh, there's just, this whole thing is broke. Look at them teeth. And there you can see how deep it is on the ends.
On the
You
ends.
see how they're splitting?
Let's see here. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Is that
like
mark
right
coming
there.
up like this?
Yeah, that's how deep that
That's how
crack is.
deep that crack is.
In that valley. Yeah, right there.
Oh, I see.
There.
Down in there. Oh my
That
God.
that was really deep right there. That's how you was splitting them in half, you see?
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, let's go on through. Yeah, look at all those teeth. Just split up the side.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Man, how lucky are we? and
That's a
they
bad looking one right there.
And
yeah,
we
all
deemed
them
this
teeth
thing.
are just broke. Holy shit.
Yeah, every one of them things. Man.
Sorry if I'm moving around.
Oh no, you're good.
Picture of it.
Yeah, look at that. So the ones that we ground on right there.
Yes, it didn't go away. You can still see it still there.
Oh yeah, look at that. We ground that down 100,000.
That looks a bunch. Yeah, well,
You know what I
you
mean?
didn't get it. And it looks like there's another one next to it.
Look at
too.
that on that. Yeah,
Huh?
we didn't even see that.
Huh? Yeah, I probably wouldn't run that anymore.
I know. So the ones that are down in the root,
Yep.
is that machine mark? Is that cracks?
No, they're cracks.
Those
That's why
are cracks.
you can see them when they
Oh,
when I
I
showed
see
you
when
when
they're
they
on the
broke
sides.
the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just went through that. It's that deep down into the material. Yeah, like that. So that follows that crack in that root.
It looks
well,
like you
it's
could-
actually moving up the
It's
side.
like you could
but-
take a hammer and bust that thing in half right there.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's deep.
Have you ever seen anything like that on ring gears? Like,
Oh yeah, I mean I
Yeah.
have had drag ring gears in here before, and they
Yeah.
were just trash, like
Yeah.
your cranks.
Yeah.
You know the
Yeah.
indications I see on drag cranks, I've
yeah.
never seen on any other sprint car cranks or anything else.
oh my God, man. What a mess that
But
is.
you guys put
But
some.
it's just like but we haven't had this issue, you know?
Huh?
And I'm just thinking of
Oh,
something. Yeah.
what has started this?
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. Like, what happened?
And how many runs is
Same
on this?
manufacturers? Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And they didn't change material or anything.
They say so, but I think maybe the heat treat or something's different.
So it looks like something changed. Or did you up your horsepower?
But yeah, we're still running the same, you know? So the fluorescent stuff, is that a...
It's iron particles. They're almost microscopic. They look like dust,
Yeah?
but
Then you control the amperage there, huh?
yep. But yeah, and then they're suspended in that liquid.
I see.
And then when you magnetize it, that on each side of that crack, it's a north and a south pole. And so it'll make those little microscopic bar magnets line up. And that's
Gotcha.
what you're seeing when you see it. They're just lined all up. Oh. That's all good. Now for your fun part.
Mm-hmm. On the edge of the tooth there?
You're getting little down in that root there.
Yeah, it's because it's kind of far out on the pinion. Like, it shouldn't be driving out there on that edge like that, you know?
So it's trying to pull that
Yeah,
apart.
yeah. It's like it's not, you know, like the pinion's not
Yeah,
deep
that
enough.
one's getting a little better. It's coming out on the tooth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's all wearing. Look at that.
Where's that one at? Oh,
All down
that,
in the
ooh,
root.
Look at that.
Every one of these is that way.
Wow.
I'll just keep slowly
Yeah.
turning it. If you want.
Yeah.
Well, there's a pretty one.
Man. You know, that's just one run away from being a complete disaster. And look at that on the end of that.
I know, that's really odd.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But those root ones are just...
Do you want me to take a grease pencil and mark any of them? Or
Oh, that's
you
okay.
Don't need it?
Yeah, I think we videotaped. That's good enough.
I'm going to do a coil shot on this just
Okay.
for fun. I bet when that comes apart, that just tears all kinds of other stuff
It's
up.
bad news bears. Motor goes up, and the thing is that, you know, we're even having to run, you know, blankets and things on the rear ends now to keep parts from flying out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's just see if I can see anything else down there. Because with that coil shot, you would find cracks that direction
I
or
see.
around that tube or
I
any
see.
of that kind of stuff. But nope, it's just them. The indications we've seen.
Yep.
They don't look like anything else is there.
Well, there's some pretty good ones down in there, isn't there?
Oh man. God. You know what that set cost?
Yeah, it's $4,000.
Golly, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
$4,000.
And it should last how many runs?
Well, we were getting 50 to 60 runs before, and now they're not near that now. So,
man, that's a lot of money for not many runs.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy.
62.
62?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too far behind you.
And I've been doing that. My dad got me my first job at the airport because he was an airplane mechanic.
Yeah.
35 years, airline mechanic. And he got me my first job when I was 14 and a half.
No kidding.
And I've been doing it ever since.
Oh my God. That's
And I'm
awesome.
tired.
And you got 4,000 IndyCar wheels coming in here in the next month?
Yeah, was that what it was? Well,
Yeah.
Like I say, 10 sets.
10 sets per team.
40 per car. So yeah, it's 400, 11 or 8, 1,200, 1,300.
1,300? 1,300
And
wheels?
that was going to break my back too. I got to train other people to do this.
Well, you got to get some young kid in here. We got to teach him how to do this stuff, and then he can actually provide the muscle for you for a while.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that can
I
happen.
don't think too many people want to come and work in there like a mushroom in the dark.
Like a mushroom. That's funny.
Everybody used to think, oh, it's so cool to be working on race car stuff. But
Yeah. I don't know,
you
man.
guys are out. You get to see all pretty girls. I don't.
Yeah.
That's just me.
That's funny. I don't know. For us to come in here and see what this stuff really looks like under, good eddy current stuff,
Oh,
it's pretty amazing to me. And I see a lot of stuff, and it's still just is pretty remarkable for me to see how bad some of this stuff really is. But the eye can't pick it up.
You and me both, dude. I
Yep.
never seen stuff till I started doing drag stuff. I
Yeah.
didn't know how bad parts could crack.
Now, this is my good friend Tuna, who's the car chief on our car. And this is how he loads the wing strut assembly. 75 years old and still got it.
Do not recommend this to anybody over the age of 50.
Perfect, I'm out. Now it's time to look at the stuff that's in our car that we're currently running. It has 6 runs on it, and I don't like this pattern. It's running off the gear. It looks hot, and we need to do some work on this thing. This is Davey Peterson. They call him Bush. I'm not sure why they call him Bush. He's bushy? I'm not sure. But anyway, he's going to help tear apart this rear end, and we're going to have to readdress the depth of the pinion gear in this thing so we can try and get this pattern a little bit lower on the ring gear. And let's see what we can do here. Now, this is a strange 12 1/4 live axle rear end. It's got 11 1/4 inch carbon brakes on it, and these things run about $24,000. Now, just the ring and pinion itself is $4,000, and generally, we used to see a life expectancy around 50 to 60 runs. Now, Davey will start by taking the brakes off this thing. He'll pull off both calipers, and you can see these brake lines. We actually have a quick disconnect, so we can actually pull this rear end on and off, and just actually has a quick coupler on it so we don't have to sit there and bleed the brakes every time. Now we're going to go ahead and loosen all the bolts that are holding the bell onto the center housing. Now this also sandwiches the rear end plates, and those plates are what bolts into the chassis. So we'll go ahead and knock all these loose. They're like 65 pounds of torque, something like that, but they're just in a real bitch area, and you really can't put a socket on it per se so much. So you got to bust them loose with a wrench, and then here we'll go ahead and take the axle nuts off. This is what actually holds the hubs and the axle in place on the hubs. So we'll get those off. Davey will finish removing the nuts for the spindles, and then we will hook up a puller. You know what? First, I think we're going to go ahead and take the rotors off these things. We figured out, like, if we were to chip one of these rotors or crack it or something like that, that's probably going to cost us about $3,500. So maybe it's a good idea to go ahead and get the rotors off these things. Now we've got a slide hammer adapter onto the wheel studs, and Davey will go ahead and just yard this spindle and bell off of the side of the housing. And then we'll do the same thing for the other side. And then once we get that bell and hub assembly off, we'll go ahead and pull the axle out. You gotta remember, this axle goes from one side to the other. It's a solid one-piece axle, and that goes right through the spool. And so we'll pull that out, and it goes in one direction. So, but it's very clearly marked on the axle which way it needs to go. There's a right and a left on it. But then you got a guy that'll look at the front of the rear end and go, is this the front, or is this the right, or is this the back? Anyway, it's pretty much idiot-proof, but maybe not for most. My buddy Chris stopped by to see what kind of shit we were up to, and I told him nothing good. Anyway, so the next thing is to get the set screws out of the spool adjusters. Now, these adjusters actually have the bearings on them as well, and as they turn in, they adjust the side to side of the spool, and they also the torque of the spool when it's in the case. At each stage of disassembly and assembly, we are checking what the total turning torque of the rear end is, and we measure that in inch-pounds of torque. So right now, we're seeing what the combination of the pinion and the spool equals at this point. We want to know this because this rear end only had 6 runs on it. We want to know how much it changed from 6 hits from when it was actually set up. So this particular one, the pinion loads from the back. The back of the pinion drives the oil pump. And then this pinion support bolts on from the side. Maybe not the best way to do something, but if you're going to load the pinion from inside, I guess it is. So let's get the pinion out of this thing. So we'll go ahead and pull off the oil pump pickup and the extension so that we can move this. Once we unbolt this pinion support, we can move that pinion support backwards out of the way so we can get the pinion out of the way. Now these are the bolts on the bottom of the pinion support. They're two, I think they're like 5/8 bolts, but they're kind of special. One of them actually goes clear up into the pinion support, but the other one also is a passenger of oil. So the oil that's pumped down into the case, it passes through this bolt and it goes up into a front orifice which feeds the bearings for the pinion. So now we'll pull the side bolts off of the pinion support, and we really should have just probably grabbed an Allen socket for this and put a gun on it and ripped it out of there, but the guys, they like to be careful and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we did it. We got those off. Now we're going to remove the set screws that hold the nut in place on the pinion. So when this thing is torqued up, it locks it in place. Now this nut that's on here is special too because it also is the pickup for the race pack sensor, so we know what the rear end's doing. Now this is our oil pump, and we didn't do this. This came this way. It's like somebody tried beating on the tail support with a hammer. Like I said, we've never been in this thing before, and that's the way it was. So you can take it or leave it how that happened, but I got a pretty damn good idea. So now we're going to measure the turning torque again on the pinion just to make sure what it is before we know what the number was, and now after being ran 6 times, we know what the number was. It lost approximately 50 inch-pounds of torque. Now here's where we thought we were going to be cool and bust this nut loose, and not necessarily. We ended up putting it back in the chassis and using a 4-in-1 torque multiplier, and loosening the nut on this which we should have done from the very beginning, but we wanted to know what the turning torque numbers was, and if you loosen it beforehand, it doesn't work out. This here is the spacer. You can see we have a raised edge on it. Now, this is the spacer that's in between the inner and the outer pinion bearing, and it looks like it was cut on a really rough lathe, which I'm not okay with. Now, this is the pinion together with both of the bearings on it. You can see just how big this pinion is, and this is its home. Now, this is the spacer that's in between the inner and outer races, and it's kind of a cool deal. They actually use it as a orifice to feed the outer pinion bearing and the inner pinion bearing. One of them has, 3 holes in it, the other one has like 6 holes in it, and this is where the oil comes out to actually feed both of these bearings. Now, we're changing the pinion depth of this thing, so the actual shim for this is not located underneath the bearing that's on the pinion like a normal 9-inch or something like that. It's actually behind the inner race. And so we've got to make it thicker to move that pinion closer to the ring gear. And we've already got our parts. We've already called Strange. They made some stuff for us. But we're going to have to heat this case up, and we're going to have to make the race cold. And we're going to use this conglomeration of stuff here, and we're going to pull it in with some all thread, basically. But you got to be super careful with these because all it wants to do is try and get that race cricket as it's going in. So I'm not going to waste you guys' time and show you how many times we pulled this thing back and forth across to make sure that we're pulling this race in nice and even through this process. But I'll just say this. It took quite a bit of time. So we put the side plates back on the rear end, and we thought it was going to be just way better to tighten this pinion up if it was in the chassis. We just don't have something set up right now to hold this rear end. We're going to make a fixture when we get back, but we just kind of ran out of time. And so we're going to go ahead and put the oil pump and tail shaft assembly on the end of this pinion so we don't have to beat it on like the last guy did before we start to torque and tighten up this pinion nut. So this big wrench is going to hold the nut that's on the outer part of the pinion. Now keep in mind this pinion is also the coupler, so it looks a little bit different. So we're going to use a 4-to-1 torque multiplier. And on the end of it, we actually have what looks like a coupler. So that's going to spin the pinion. We're going to hold the nut in place. We're going to put the other bar up against the frame rail. But first we're going to check and make sure our torque wrench is set correctly. Now, if we set this torque wrench at 200 pounds with a 4-to-1, that's going to make it torqued at 800 foot-pounds of torque. So we're just double checking to make sure that we've got the correct setting on our torque wrench before we do this. And what we do here is we slowly take this thing up. So we'll take it up to 400 pounds to begin with, and then we'll pull it back apart and check the turning torque. So we'll pull all the multiplier and stuff back off, check the turning torque of the pinion, because we're wanting between 100 and 120 inch-pounds of turning torque on this. Now, if it's not right, we've got to pull this pinion back out, and what we call the crush sleeve, which is just really, it looks like a solid race. It's not crushing anything. It's holding those two bearings apart, and we'll have to adjust that either if it's not enough turning torque, we'll have to take a little bit off of it. And if there's too much, we'll have to have a whole different shim and make it a little bit thicker. So you can see here, it's a constant process of putting another 100 pounds on it, checking it, and seeing how it's landing. But it looks like this one's going to come out just fine. And anytime you're torquing something like this, you want to make sure that you spin the pinion around a couple times and make sure it gets seated just fine, and then check your turning torque number. So we took it up to 600, checked the turning torque again, and then finally 800 foot-pounds of torque on this pinion nut. That's right, 800. So when we get back from the Western swing, we are definitely building a holding fixture for this thing, so we don't have to come in and out of the frame rails to put this thing, together. And we also always try and check in direction of rotation of what the gear is actually spinning to get your torque number. And probably on the pinion, it doesn't matter. But when the spool gets in this thing, it is going to matter. So we got the tail support bolts in at the bottom. put the side ones in and torque those. I think they torque it like 50 foot-pounds of torque. And there's a spec sheet on every bolt on this rear end that Strange provides. So we put the oil pump pickup back on and get it lined up. And Davey does something really cool. When he finishes a project, and tightens something, he always uses like a green paint pen and marks it so that he knows that all these things are torqued to the proper spec and everything, and nothing gets forgotten. So now we're dropping the spool and ring gear back into this assembly, and we're going to start loading the spool bearings in it. You can see how big this nut is. This is actually an aluminum nut with a steel bearing on it, and there's now an upgraded nut that goes on the spool side, the gear side, that's actually steel now. We don't have that yet, but we're working on it. So we'll put this in here, and we'll get close on the backlash. But as we're putting this in, we're also checking turning torque again. There's no, say, spec on these big nuts that, you just torque it to 150 pounds or something like that. You're actually looking at how much resistance it takes to turn the ring gear. So that's your added torque number. And it's really important that this thing gets a lot of preload, because when you hit the gas on this thing, it's just trying to take that ring gear and throw it out of the side of the case. That's all its job is intended. We want it to actually spin the tires and the axle, but really what it wants to do is just split in between the pinion and the ring gear. So it's important for us to get this turning torque number on these sides correct and have the right amount of backlash between the pinion and the ring gear at the same time. So with the addition of the spool and the torque that we have applied on the side of the spool, we've increased our total turning torque number another 50 and 60. Now, if you look at this setup right here, this is kind of what we've been shooting for, is really low on the drive side of this ring gear, because we have deflection, and this deflection is making it go to the outer part of the ring gear, which is the weaker part of the ring gear, and we want to try and get some longevity out of this. So we're doing some testing here. It's testing with a really expensive part, but it's also testing the longevity of this gear. If we can get it to last a little bit longer, if we're down on the ring gear where the strength is. Now that we have the pinion torqued upright, the sides are torqued upright, we're going to go ahead and drill the nut on this pinion. There's actually 2 locations on this. We drill right into the pinion threads themselves, and then they have a special Allen set screw that runs into those holes so it keeps that nut from backing off while it's under power. We put the axle back in, the bell's back on, we got some lube in it, and we're even checking it with all those assemblies together. We're checking total turning torque as well, and we ended up around 180 inch-pounds of turning torque. So now that we got that all done, we'll cover it up. We'll get this thing back in the rear end. We'll head over to Phoenix, Arizona this weekend, and we're going to try and see what this little girl will do. Thank you, Redline, for producing this awesome gear oil, this motor oil, all the things that we use. Really do appreciate it. And I want to do a thing here. All of our guests that have been sending us stuff from our Amazon wish list, this was the best one because they actually sent it packaged, so we got to open it up like a little present and stuff. But it was some Parker gear lube or oil ring lube that we use a lot of, and it's actually kind of expensive. And we sure appreciate it. John.
A++ on the gift wrap thing. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And here is just a sample of some of the stuff that all of you have been sending us. I mean, everything we use daily here, pretty much, and it means a lot to our team. We're still looking for sponsors for our team. Sean's been doing a hell of a job, keeping up with everything. But, man, I tell you what, if you have a corporate company out there and you want to make a name for yourself and associate yourself with some really great people. We would love to be able to talk to you. Like I say, we're constantly looking for anything that we can do for someone else so we can have a great relationship and get your name out there on the racetrack. And thank you, everyone, for sending all this Amazon stuff. We really appreciate it.